Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sarah Barker, and I'm here with Military Veterans in Business. Today, my guest is Richard Erschik. He's a military Army veteran, and he is the founder of Tutor USA, and he does some other things that he'll explain as far as Zoom and trade shows. But why don't we start with this, Richard? Please share with us what branch of service you were in, and when were you in, and a little bit about your military background.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Sarah, and thanks for having me. I was, back in 1965, I was part of the, President Johnson, I think, called it a 240,000 man call when Vietnam started heating up. And I was living in Chicago at the time, and I got my draft notice along with a lot of my other friends, and I was drafted into the military in 65. I went, first of all, to Fort Knox, and at the time, they couldn't take the influx of all the people, so they moved us to Fort Hood, Texas, and I took my basic and AIT there. And then I was assigned to a 8-inch howitzer unit, and I was going to be part of the artillery, and they found out that the Honest John rocket needed a new group of people, so they assigned me to the Honest John rocket battalion. And I became believe it or not, a nuclear warhead specialist for the Honest John rocket. I was 20 years old.
That's a lot of responsibility for a 20-year-old, right?
It really was. Hey, now might be a time for my shameless plug already. I wrote a book about my military career.
Please.
My time served in the United States Army. It's available on Amazon. It talks about the whole story I just explained to you briefly, but it's kind of neat. All the proceeds go to veterans, by the way. It's available
that's
on
wonderful.
Amazon. You can either search my name, Richard Erschik, or the title, My Time Served in the United States Army. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So when you say that all the proceeds go to veterans, how does that work? Is there a particular nonprofit that it's going to?
Yeah, one of the things that I wasn't going to talk about today is a group I started called veteranvisitors.com. If your listeners want to write down that URL, veteranvisitor.com. I spend some time benevolently meeting with World War II, Vietnam, and Korean War veterans. And I use the proceeds from my book to fund and pay for the challenge coins that I give away to all the veterans.
That's beautiful, Richard. I just earlier today was telling a story about an interaction I had yesterday with a World War II veteran that stormed the beaches of Normandy. And when I have those opportunities, it is such a pleasure and such an honor to interact with them.
I meet them all. I meet them in retirement centers and nursing homes. I visit them in their homes. I show up in dress blues, and I kind of talk to them and motivate them and get them to tell some of the stories they like to talk. So it's kind of fun. It's all on that website, veteranvisitor.com.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll be sure to put that in the comments.
Okay.
All right. Where were you introduced to technology?
You know, I remember it like it was yesterday, Sarah. It was 1983. I was working for a machine tool builder company. I was their marketing manager, and they hired a consultant to come in and introduce the whole company to the personal computer. And basically at that time, it was the IBM. It was the IBM XT, if anybody remembers that, with the floppy disk drives. And I just took to it. It was so interesting to me. As a marketing manager, I was dealing with 3x5 cards, trying to keep track of people's names and addresses. And we learned about databases. And when I saw what databases do, I got involved in that. And I've been an early adopter ever since. I can't wait for the next Apple address now to find out what's new. But it was way back then. It was back in 83.
Well, so back in 83, I believe, so this computer system, I'm not even sure how to describe it. So this is the one that played the Oregon Trail, that game that the students in school would play with the floppy disks, I think.
Yeah, that was one of them. Yeah.
Okay, so that's when you were introduced to technology. And Tutor USA is centered around connecting seniors using technology. So when and where did you get the idea to teach seniors?
Actually, back in 1986, let me start there. I was working for a company back then, and I discovered a problem in the trade show industry that I created a solution to. And the solution was in the form of what became an internationally known company. I founded an organization to solve the problem. And that company in 20 years made over $10 million.
Wow.
And I became an instructor and a teacher in the trade show industry, and I became internationally known. I still am today. If you look at my website, Exhibitor Training Webinar, I still work a lot in the trade show industry teaching exhibitors. Well, long story short, and to answer your question, I was at a homeowners association meeting for our housing development, and a couple of the elders were asking questions about getting online to read their bylaws and read their invoices. And I saw that the people in the room were struggling with technology. And I said, well, stay an extra hour, and I'll show you on my laptop how you can do that. And when I saw the attention, Sarah, that seniors pay to learning something like this, I thought, there's a business here.
Yes.
And so I segued away from the trade show industry, and I founded the company Tech Tutor USA, teaching seniors how to use technology, their iPhones, their iPads, their desktops. And it grew from one-on-one, and from basically 5 at a time, I started marketing because I'm a marketing and sales nut. I marketed my services nationally to senior centers around the country. And what I do today via Zoom, like we're doing right now, I teach 25, 30, 40 seniors at a time, very slowly, how to use these things to take pictures and send to their grandkids. And since this pandemic, I've segued now into teaching them how to use Zoom, because they're all sequestered in these homes all over the country, and they can't get out. And they love learning Zoom. They love being introduced to YouTube. They love knowing what the internet is and how to use it. So I guess I could say it was kind of a gradual transition from the trade show industry into seniors training. But I do a lot. I've got 5 of them scheduled for the rest of this week for senior centers all over the country.
Richard, that is fantastic. And I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that Tech Tutor USA started pre-COVID, right? I thought that it was something that started to try to, increase the connection and decrease isolation due to COVID. So you took something that was already started and then was able to pivot to really reduce the isolation of these seniors. And something that I want to add along that, and for any of the viewers listening, don't assume that your parents or your grandparents don't want to learn technology, because I often see that with families where, the adult children will say, oh, my mom, she's not interested in that. She'd never use an iPad. She doesn't want a smartphone. I don't think that that's necessarily true. Ask them. And maybe if they do say no, it's because there's this insecurity of not knowing how to use it. But if that's the case, then, connect them with Richard.
That's such a good point, Sarah. Everybody wants to learn. Seniors want to learn. And their kids and their grandkids, they can show them how to use it. They can tell them how to use it, but they can't teach them. Well,
it's like your husband or my husband trying to teach me how to snowboard, right? Yeah. I can learn from an instructor, but when it's a close relationship trying to teach you something, there's a lot of, you can't help it. There's just a frustration that happens.
Yeah, and there's no question my success is based solely on the fact that I'm a senior. So it's seniors teaching seniors.
That's a great point too.
That's the whole reason I'm doing what I'm doing successfully. Because there are a lot of younger people trying to teach seniors, and they get intimidated, they get embarrassed. But you hit the nail on the head. They all want to learn. They want to learn how to use this stuff.
I think that we need to talk offline about putting together maybe a Connect My Business, right? A Connect Our Elders sponsored technology education, tech tutor event for clients from my partners to come into the group, right, and be taught. We'll talk offline about that.
Yeah, okay, sure.
How do you deliver your tutoring? You said Zoom, right?
Yeah,
but you also mentioned Senior Center.
Yeah. It used to be in person in the form of a seminar, where even these retirement centers in the local area here, I mentioned I'm down in South Florida,
Hmm.
within a 50-mile radius, there are a lot of senior centers here, and I used to travel to them, and I would come in as a luncheon speaker, and they would have a screen and a projector, and I would just project the whole presentation. But now that the COVID has basically eliminated all of that, I do all of my work today online via Zoom, just like we're doing this right now.
Okay. And then how do you, so it's through the senior centers that send these people your way, and then they ensure that people have access to the Zoom meeting when it's time for the class?
Right. I sent, in part of my package to the senior center, I design their promotional piece that has my link on it, and they send the promotional piece to all of their people, and they simply click on the link and join the meeting at the time.
Super easy. Super
It's
easy.
very
Okay.
Very easy.
What does your typical class include?
I start with the basics, Sarah. I mean, I start with the off and on button because I never know what level of training or experience these people are in. So we all start together, and I don't progress any faster than the slowest learner. So if there's a question, I leave the mics open and they can ask questions, and I answer the questions, and I use a lot of humor, and I've got a lot of nostalgic slides that kind of keep everybody together. So it's done very, very slowly and methodically, but I teach them lighting, I teach them background, using backgrounds, I teach them how to share screens, I show them what breakout rooms are. I kind of take them through the whole process. It's only about an hour or an hour and 15 minutes.
I think I might have to join one of your tech tutor classes, because when things first moved to Zoom last March, right? I went out and I bought this big tapestry, where I ordered it on Amazon, for this background. And then my daughter saw it. She's like, "What are you doing, mommy?" And I said, "Well, I don't want the white wall. I need a background." And she just clicked the button, said, "Oh, here's your virtual background." I had no idea. And then when it comes to my cell phone, she's always telling me that she has to clean up my tabs and my app. I don't even know. So she takes care of it for me. So I could probably benefit from your class.
Yeah, well, a light just went on when you said you didn't know. You were in a situation where you didn't know you didn't know.
You're right.
Right? But once you knew, it becomes easy. And that's right where all these seniors are. Right now they don't know. But as soon as they know they don't know, they want to learn.
And it's not difficult stuff to learn either. They just need the opportunity to know they don't know, and the opportunity to learn.
And it has to be presented to them slowly.
Okay.
That's all.
All right. So we've talked a bit about who hires you, but why don't we get a bit more specific? I mean, you've said senior centers, but are there other people, other types of communities that hire you, other organizations?
You know, I'm at an age and stage in my life, Sarah, where I'm sure there are, and I'm not even looking for them. I have plenty of work to do with the senior centers.
Okay. Well, I would be interested in helping you, because I feel like this could be something that non-medical home care companies could offer to their clients. And
wide open. It's wide
yes. Open. Wonderful. And then what is your fee for this class that you teach?
I charge $250. That's
Okay.
if one person is in the room or 40 are in the room. It doesn't matter. I spend the exact same amount of time and energy talking to one as I would for 40. And I give the participants 30 days of free telephone support. So when the screen goes blank and our Zoom meeting is over with, they can call me for the next month if they get stuck. And I'll help them through the process.
So you're not charging the senior directly. It's the senior centers that are paying for your services.
Right.
Okay. That's good to know. All right. So let me, we've talked about a bunch of the things that I was going to ask. Now we're going to dive a little bit deeper into who you are, right, as a person, your business experience, and so that way we can garner your advice from your experience. What is one thing you wish you had known when you began your civilian career?
Well, I want to say this and make sure everybody understands this, because it sounds simplistic, but it's really not. The biggest mistake, and I tell my kids this, I tell a lot of my peers this, the biggest mistake I made in my entire business career is I always assumed that people know more than they know.
Okay.
I always assumed people know more than they know. And I used to think that if I know it, everybody must know it. And I think having learned that, it has slowed me down in my delivery. I think it was Brian Tracy, or no, it was Dennis Waitley that said in one of his motivational books, when you're promoting to people today, pretend they're 12 years old.
Okay.
If you can dumb down your presentation, I hate to use that word, but if you can get your presentation to look as though it's being presented to a 12-year-old, everybody will get it.
Right, and that's not to be insulting to people. That's just to capture as many people as possible, right?
Exactly. And it's to get everybody on the same page at the same time at the same place, and to keep their attention. Mm-hmm. When you asked me the question about Zoom, what do I teach? If I just started saying that I teach how to use breakout rooms, and somebody doesn't know what breakout rooms are, they stop listening. You can watch their eyes glaze over.
Right.
So when I say I start with the on and off button, everybody thinks, well, I can dive right in there. I know what the on and off button is. So again, to answer your question, I always assumed people know more than they do. So it's gotten me to start with the basics.
Mm-hmm. And there's a way to start with the basics, right? Or to, bring it down to that level without it coming across insulting, right? I've said for a long time that everybody is intelligent and smart in their own way, right? Like my dad could barely read, but he could tell you every single thing about every tree, right, in Maine. Yeah. But would he, for the first time, if you gave him a cell phone, know how to turn it on? No. Right.
Exactly.
But that doesn't mean that these people aren't smart, right? They're just smart in other things.
Exactly. They're brilliant in their own expertise. Yep.
Perfect. Yep. I'm going to have to remember how to say it as concise as you just did. All right. What is your biggest failure, otherwise known as lesson? I like to look at them as lessons. Yeah. And what did you learn from it?
Well, I'm going back to that comment. My biggest failure was expecting people to know things that they really didn't know. And I sometimes started in my, in 1986 when I started that company, it was a service company. And I was the sales force. And when I would go out on a sales call, I used to start my sales presentation at a level that left people in the dark. They didn't know what I was talking about. I started too high. I thought that they understood everything from the basics up to where I was starting, and they didn't. So that's the lesson I learned. And I can tell you I was more successful in my business in the last 3 years than I was in the prior 17, because that light went on and I realized what I was doing wrong. And when I started with more of the basics and then ramped up to the delivery message I had, it made all the difference in the world.
Was there a particular thing that happened to make the light bulb come on?
I guess it was with a client. I know the name of the company. It was Siemens. It was a big company, but the marketing manager I was presenting to said, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I mean, it was like that. It was like getting hit with a 2x4. I mean, this person basically told me what I was doing wrong. He told me I don't understand that. Mm-hmm. And I think that was it. It was a sales call at Siemens, and that's a big company. And
huge, yeah.
The marketing manager a marketing manager at Siemens is a respectable position, and this guy was at least honest enough to say, Rich, what?
Say right, what? And I think, it's great that you were open to the feedback, right? And the criticism, so that way you could have the light bulb come on.
Well, I'll tell you what, I had that Siemens account after that day. We did get that business, and I serviced that account for 3 years until I sold the company. So wow. Yeah, it was a lesson learned.
Great story. All right. What advice do you have for transitioning service members?
Wow. I think let's see, I'm not going to do the math here. 67, I got out in 67, it's 2021, over 50 years ago. I remember my training, I remember my discipline. And I think you should continue leveraging your training and your discipline and differentiate yourself from everybody else. If you're going to truck driving school, differentiate yourself. If you're going into the medical profession, differentiate yourself. Look at what everybody else is doing. Do something different. You've got to be different. It's differentiation that's critical. And I remember, you kind of set me back when you said transitioning from civilian life. I remember getting out, and I remember saying, now what the heck am I going to do?
Well, you also transitioned during a different time. I mean, I don't want to dismiss the reality, right, of, for people transitioning during my generation, it was a much different experience than your generation.
Yeah.
So,
but I'd say leveraging experience and leveraging discipline. Be respectful to people, and
that's great advice. So along the course of your life, whether it be in the military, transitioning out, or the successful career that you've had in many areas, what are the best resources that have helped you be successful?
What instantly came to mind is the PC, internet, and YouTube.
Then that must be what they are.
They are. The PC, I live on it. The internet, it's an unlimited resource. And YouTube, you can learn anything.
I mean, think about that. If you want to know anything, you just go and search it up. I mean, I even at my age, I'm not, I'm going to be 39 soon, but it used to be the encyclopedias, and I thought it was the greatest thing in the world when my parents bought the encyclopedias.
Yeah.
And now I can find out anything I want to know right here.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. I just saved $500 on an automobile repair from YouTube. I went to the automobile dealer. They told me it was wrong with the car. I came home. I researched it. I found the part. I bought the part. I looked on YouTube on how to install the part. It's in a step-by-step process. I think I spent a total of $40, and it would have cost $500 at the dealership. Everything is on YouTube. Any recipe you want, anything is on YouTube.
That is great. That's a good reminder to me. All right. What have you read and listened to recently that's inspired you?
Recently, I was 18 years old when John F. Kennedy was assassinated, and that has fascinated me my entire life. And I just read a book by Clint Hill named Mrs. Kennedy and Me, and it brought back the Kennedy assassination. That's certainly not work-related, but it was very impactful for me. Work-related, I've read 2 books that I'm going to mention to everybody that if anybody is thinking of going into their own business, you should read these 2 books. One is The E-Myth Revisited, and Inside the Tornado.
Okay, I've heard of E-Myth, but I've not heard of Inside the Tornado. Would you mind kind of giving a synopsis of these 2 books for the audience?
The E-Myth, I can warn everybody, will scare you to death because when you think of starting a business today, you have shortcomings. You don't know everything. Get over it. Hire good people. You have expertise. My expertise was in marketing and selling. I didn't know anything about finance, so I hired the best accountant. And the E-Myth Revisited will get you focused on what your skills are and what your skill sets are. And it will identify your shortcomings to the point where it'll tell you what you need outside of yourself.
And then you outsource it, right? So you can focus on what you're good at. So that way you don't get to a standstill, right? Because a lot of people feel like they have to figure everything out before they move forward.
Buy it. Buy it from the outside. Outside contractors. You don't have to put them on your payroll. Just hire them. It's just like buying paper clips. Doesn't make any difference. It's just a person with talents. Hire the talents.
Okay. And then Inside the Tornado. Inside
the Tornado will keep you focused. Inside the Tornado will tell you what you should be doing yourself to leverage your personal skill sets.
I need to read that book today.
Really. I know. I was like that. I was all over the place.
Thank you for those recommendations. All right. If you had to narrow down your keys to success, what would the top key be?
Hard work. Is that hard work?
Yep. I love that one, Richard. I've said for quite a few years now. Do not ever underestimate the power of a strong work ethic. Like, you can literally outwork other people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When I started my business in 1986, I mean, I left a high paying job. I gave back a company car. I turned in stock options and I just quit and I started my own business. And at the time, we had a 4-bedroom home, and I used to dress in a 3-piece suit to go from the kitchen to my office in one of the bedrooms. I had to get myself in that mindset. So
Yeah.
I used to work in a suit in the house in my home office.
To be in the right frame of
To get in
mind.
the right frame of mind. Yep.
Okay, great. All right. What's the biggest challenge you have with your specific role right now? And how are you going to overcome it? So what are you struggling with, and what is your course of action going to be?
Wow. Being brutally honest,
Mhm.
I'm finally at a point in my life where I'm doing what I want to do, not what I have to do. So I'm not, I don't even have any goals, Sarah. I've got all the business I need. I'm working as hard as I want to work. I want to play more in my life. So my goals are kind of just to do more of what I like to do.
I love this. That gave me goosebumps. I before we jumped on here today, I had a conversation with a woman. She's 74. She was the president of AVVA, Associates of Vietnam Veterans of America. Right? They support VBA, and she said, we really want to be involved, but she decided, like, we're at a place where we really, our goals are different, right? And we really want to travel. And, it's time for us to do the things that we really want to do before it's too late, right? And I told her the only thing that came to mind was, what? Life's meant for living. Especially once you get to your age, right? And you've worked and you've done this, you can't, you got to enjoy the fruits of your labor, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and I'm thinking back on how I just answered that question, and I don't mean to be cold or callous with that comment, but I'm 76. I've been everywhere I want to go. My clothes smelled like jet fuel for 20 years. I have 2 million miles on American Airlines alone. I've stayed in all of the hotels in the country. The last thing I want to do is get on an airplane and go anywhere.
What are the things that you enjoy doing?
I kayak a lot. I'm an outdoors person. We hike. We're in fact relocating. We're moving from down in southern Florida. I'm down, I think I told you, I'm the last stoplight before Key Largo. We're moving up farther north. There's more kayaking water up there. There's more hiking trails. I love the outdoors. I want to get away from this thing for a little while if I can.
Well, that's great. That's great. Okay, how do you continue to learn in order to stay on top of things with your role, with your company, the industry?
I'm up at 4 in the morning every morning. I'm a dead man at 8 o'clock at night, but I spend the 3 or 4 quiet hours in the morning on the internet, surfing LinkedIn, learning. I'm constantly learning. I think I mentioned to you, I can't wait until the next Apple announcement is to announce all of their new technology, because I love learning all of this technology and see how it makes my life easier. And when I learn how it makes my life easier, I can teach others how it makes their life easier.
Okay.
I'm an early adopter.
I'm curious. So you mentioned that you get up at 4 a.m. My father-in-law is a Vietnam veteran as well. And I'm an early riser, and I know lots of people that are early risers, but I've noticed this pattern with Vietnam era veterans, the 4:30 a.m. wake up. Does it have anything to do with your time in service?
I don't really think it does. I don't think I need as much sleep as most people do. I,
Okay.
I, I don't know if it relates to the military training at all. I mean,
Okay.
Reveille was at 5:30 or 6, as I recall, but I don't know. I just early riser.
Okay. All right. How do you think your military experience plays into your success as a businessman and an overall person?
Discipline and respect. I'm still very respectful. I'm 76 and I still call people sir, ma'am. I mean, it just comes out of me. I think being respectful is very important today. I mean, look at the people around you. Look at how the world has changed in the last 10 years. Be different. Don't be like that.
Earlier when it came to business, you were talking about differentiate yourself, and what
That's
I
it.
hear you saying right now is differentiate yourself as a person
Exactly.
by just being
Exactly.
respectful.
Yeah.
That's great advice. Great advice. All right. Is your company hiring, or is this something where you just plan to do it yourself and keep it at that level?
I'm not hiring, but I'm looking to clone me. I would like to have others doing exactly what I'm doing under the Tech Tutor USA umbrella, because there's a lot of senior centers. There's a lot more opportunities for this, as you mentioned, and if you want to talk offline, there's a whole bunch of them. But I would teach you how to do what I do, and we can do it under the umbrella, and we'll just have a revenue sharing structure.
That is wonderful, right? Because what that feels like to me, I've said for a long time, like in the elder care space, there's a difference between fidelity to the company versus fidelity to the cause.
Yeah.
The loyalty to the overall cause. And it sounds like yours is the loyalty to educating these seniors on technology so they can stay connected to their families, right? You're not being super selfish about it all.
Not at all. And I've already got the brand. I've already got the training program. Why reinvent the wheel? If somebody wants to be another Richard Erschik, that would be fine. Let's just do it together. I have 5 or 6 of us doing the same thing.
I think that's great. We'll have to talk, because I think I might be able to find some people for you.
Okay.
All right. And then what kind of opportunities are you looking for Tech Tutor USA?
Again, kind of crazy, but none, other than if somebody wants to help me grow it and be part of it and benefit from it, that would be great. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. I'm doing plenty of it. As I said, I'm doing what I want to do, not what I have to do. So,
great place to be at.
Yeah,
is there anything that I haven't asked you that you think the audience should know?
People who think about starting a business, they generally think of, oh, how am I going to structure this? Do I have to be a corporation? Do I need a lawyer? Should I be an LLC? What is a sole proprietorship? And I'll tell you, my accountant that helped me get into business told me, and this is probably the most valuable information I'm going to give any of your listeners, you only need 4 things to start a business: letterhead, envelopes, business cards, and a bank account. And you're in business. That's all you need. You don't need a lawyer. If you're not manufacturing something that you have to be liable for injuries for, you don't need liability insurance. You just have business cards, letterhead, envelopes, bank account.
And get started. A previous guest on here, a friend of mine I've known for several years now, his advice, it goes right along with what you're saying right now and what your CPA said. Get started, right? Don't let your feelings that you have to have everything figured out paralyze you from getting it started.
Yeah. And you need customers. Need a customer.
So Richard, how can, number one, how can people find your book?
The title is My Time Served in the United States Army. It's on Amazon. You can search the title of the book, or you can search my name, Richard Erschik, on Amazon, and it's there.
Number 2, if audience members that have family members that they want to put in Tech Tutor USA class, or my fellow elder care professionals that maybe want to schedule for you to teach at one of their communities or senior centers, how can they reach you?
My website is techtutorusa.com. My email is richard@techtutorusa.com. The spelling of my name is on this little name tag down below. My phone or text number is 630-642-6500. 630-642-6500.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Richard. For those of you listening, a reminder, my name is Sarah Barker. My organization, Military Veterans in Business, is an organization to uplift and showcase fellow veterans that are in business, whether they're the owner of the company or they're working for another company. The whole point is to get the word out there about what they're doing and hopefully create job opportunities and essentially just help the veterans community. Thank you so much for being my guest today, Richard.
Thank you, Sarah.